Well, hi there, fellow Vans builders. Here we are, crazy uncertain times with this COVID-19. Really don't have any excuses as to why I shouldn't be coming down to spend some time on the RV-7. We're working on the left elevator, but it's been a long time since I have been riveting. So I made a little test piece. We're gonna do some practice and get back into the swing of things. Here we go. Okay, so here's the test piece I've rigged up. We have some number 30 holes on the left here. We have some number 40s drilled and dimpled on the right. Here it is from the back side. Nothing serious. I've already done one just to make sure I kind of still remember what I'm doing. Just going to bang this guy out and make sure everything is looking pretty good. Make sure I got my air adjusted properly on my gun, which from what I remember is 40 psi. Just got a new bit of tape on my set here. As you can see, I didn't, and that's what that little tiny mark is up there. It's not really a smiley. It won't grab my fingernail or anything. Appearance-wise, it's not too good. And there was a bit of tape on there already, and I think that's just a bit of a tape smear. But whatever it is, I don't like it. New tape on the set, and we'll get back at this. Okay, so these are my practices. Even with new fresh tape, you could tell that I was still just not 100% square on this guy, just raising the gun up a little bit. And I replaced the tape, and I still kept doing it, and then I'm like, what is going on here? And then I realized it just wasn't 90 and perpendicular to the rivet, which I corrected on these three here. And then here's the back side. They all look pretty good. I've checked them all with my gauge. You know, a little bit bigger is okay. But that's what you're looking for. Okay, so we're getting ready to do our plate nuts and hinge support area. So basically, they're all 470 pan head rivets. We're going to do -5s on the perimeter. We're going to do -6s around the perimeter of this doubler. And 7s are going to hold the nut plate to the doubler. The 7s and the 6s are all done. Let's pop these 5s in. Okay, so this is how your rivets should be looking. They're all nice and flat. Nothing's raised. They got no smiley marks on them. And you can tell where that practice we did at the beginning really helped kind of dial us in. And then here's the back side. Now you'll see I do have a little mark right there. And that's because when I was setting this rivet, the bucking bar just nicked the edge of that. I think I'm okay with this guy. So if I look down on it, it's just barely. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. I know it's even. It's the nut cert, and that's kind of what's holding the elevator on. But that's not going anywhere. I've run a larger risk of drilling that out. That has swelled into 3 pieces of material: the doubler, the spar, the other doubler, and I risked damaging the spar and the other 2 pieces trying to get that out. When you set a rivet, not only are you just setting the shop end, you're swelling that rivet into the diameter of the hole. And at every laminate piece, it'll kind of make a little rib, a little bump as it goes into every piece. As you can kind of see that stack right there, a rivet's going to swell into each one of those bumps. And when I go to drive it out, it's gonna hurt that. So sometimes it's better to leave a minor flaw than it is to risk damaging an important piece like a spar. So, you know, you're gonna have to make some judgment calls, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna be fine. So I mean, I would trust myself and my family in this airplane with that. I'm not gonna lose sleep over that at all. Cool, so we're gonna move on and we're gonna do the other one. Okay, so this is the same thing. We got 7s holding the threads in, 6s around the perimeter, and 5s where it's just going through 2 pieces of material. Now see how I can't get this rivet in there? So that's something I kind of want to adjust now. So I'm just going to back off on this guy, and I'm going to take the 1 thread or quico out of that and see if I can just adjust this, and then see kind of how everything else is lining up. Right, so I was able to get that guy in. Let's see how everything else is doing. That looks a little bit off, and that moved. So let's have a look and see. This is an indicator that maybe one of these plates is flipped or not labeled correctly when I look at those holes. So let's have a quick gander at all that. Okay guys, so basically what I did was I have this number 30 chucking reamer, and I was just able to just spin it down in there, and it was just like the slightest little hang up, and now everything is fitting fine. So we can go ahead and start riveting these in now. I am going to put a couple more clicos back in this just to hold everything kind of where I want it. So we'll get kind of one in there. We'll get one back in the nutsert. And we'll go to this top guy here. Okay, so here's something else you got to watch out for. So this is the rivet I just had in there. And it was supposed to be a number 6. But one thing I want to show you guys is that just like when you're flying an airplane and you look out the window, and we have to get used to a sight picture. When you sight the backside of this rivet, that just looks really, really long. And it just didn't look right to me. Okay? So what I did was I pulled it back out, and I compared it with another one. And you'll see that I actually grabbed a number 7. Okay? It's not that big of a difference, but it's enough. And that's what will cause you to fold over the tail of a rivet. So I want you to see the difference here. When I grab the 6 and I put it back in this hole, you see the difference now? That's just a sight picture you're going to have to get used to. And when you don't think something looks right, you got to kind of stop and reevaluate. So I mean, like, here's my rivet case here. And what probably happened is when I grabbed the 7 from here, it just kind of, I don't know, maybe dropped one into there. Really easy to make that mistake. So either keep them really far away. Maybe this isn't the best organizer that you can use. I mean, it works for me because it keeps everything in one spot. But just watch out for that. So we have the right size installed in there. I can tell now by looking at it. And we'll go ahead and set this rivet. All right, that went well. Looks good on that side. Perfect. Let's go ahead and get rid of that 7. Let's pull this guy out. We'll do one over here. I'm using a crisscross pattern, kind of like torquing down a cylinder head. Oh my goodness. Well, I pretty well destroyed that one. Wow. Okay, well, that's no good. That's not passable. What do you think? Pretty horrendous. Hopefully I didn't harm the hole. So we'll have to take that one out. But I'm still going to carry on. We'll do all the drilling at the end. Hopefully there's no more drilling. Okay, so here's my little mistake. I tried getting the head of the rivet to just break off. And that's kind of where we're at. Now, I can't set any other rivets because this whole plate has shifted. So I got to deal with this first. And because I don't know exactly where the center point is, I need to drill this out from the backside. Now normally you don't do that, but I'm kind of out of options. Now if you look at this rivet real close, see if I can zoom in, you can see that shadow. And that shadow is the center of the rivet. So I'm going to get a really small drill bit and try to drill that shadow all the way through. And we'll see how that goes. Okay. So I went at that shadow with a 1/16 drill bit. I got her pretty happy with where I wanted it, right? And that's kind of what we're left with. So now I'm just going to kind of kiss this a little bit with a number 30. So I can get that head out. Now the one thing that's going to be tough here is now when I go to punch this rivet out, I don't have the backside to be hitting on. But let's see how this goes. Okay, I was able to off camera get that drilled out. I was super careful. I didn't hurt the hole at all. You can see that's kind of what I drilled out. And after I got just deep enough, the whole thing just kind of spun, and then I just kind of picked it out of there with a pair of pliers. So I didn't affect the hole at all. And it's funny, it's almost like that rivet was just, I guess I work hardened it. But that was a tricky one for sure. That was a tricky one to get out. But I'm happy with how it worked out. Like I said, it was that guy right down there. And that's the new shop end. So now we just got the nut cert to get in there, and this guy's all done. Alright, so there's that guy. Look here. Okay, so this is the next thing I'm going to be riveting together. So this is the inside edge of the elevator, and this sits underneath the control horn here. So there are four 426 rivets now, flush head rivets, right? They call for 3.5s. But as you can see, getting in the backside here is a bit of an issue. I have my tungsten bucking bar, and it won't do it, really. And then I have a mild steel bucking bar I made, but if that angle was all the way to the root there, that probably would have worked. So something to keep in mind if you're going to be buying a tungsten bucking bar. I love this thing. It was $200 Canadian. It really does make riveting easy. If I were to get another one, or if I could go back in time and do it again, I would get one with a taper that goes all the way, kind of like, I don't know, from there all the way down. And there was one of those available. I just didn't know if I was going to need it. And in hindsight, well, hindsight's always 20/20. That's definitely one I would have gotten. I like the size of this. It's nice and small, and you can get it into small areas and stuff. But there are times where you need a bit of an angle, and this is one of them. I mean, I could kind of bend this straight and set them and rebend it. I don't feel comfortable about doing that. You know, a coat hanger only has so many bends in it before it fails, and this was bent from the factory. I'm not interested in kind of bending that, and also it will potentially change the distance of those rivet holes when the horn goes back on, if it shrinks a little bit or elongates a little bit. So I guess the smartest thing to do is to build a bucking bar. I built this one, and it was just a piece of abrasion resistant steel that I cut and sanded and sanded and sanded and then polished, and it works. But like the weight difference between this guy and this guy, so you can just tell by the sound, is pretty substantial. So I mean, tungsten's definitely the way to go. They're expensive, but they're amazing. So let's go get some steel. Okay, so we got some 1-inch solid steel. This is abrasion resistant, so it's AR400. It's a little bit stronger. It probably won't dent. I mean, these are aluminum rivets. That's what I built that guy out of. So yeah, let's turn this into a bucking bar. Okay, looks like a bucking bar to me. Nice smooth finish. Took down all the edges so we're not going to scratch anything. Just get some tape wrapped around it. Should be more than good enough. And you can see now, that's going to get in there real nice. So something I want to show you guys, just with how I have this all clecoed together, if I don't, like this gap that we have here is no good. When I put pressure on this panel isn't really sitting flush. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of fuel tubing from an RC aircraft or cars, and I put it on the shop end of the rivet. So when the bucking bar goes down there, it's actually going to hold these two panels together while I rivet it together. Okay, so there are the 4 set rivets from this side. That one did not turn out very well on the end, and I'm going to drill that guy out because I'm not happy with that gap, even after using the fuel tubing. The other ones kind of turned out okay, and here they are from the back side. So definitely not my best. These were tricky. These were definitely tough ones to get, but gonna drill this one on the end out and see if we can get that better. which I think we can. Okay, I replaced those two rivets. It's a little bit better. Not really too pumped on the scratches up there, so I'm gonna address that with a little bit of primer, make sure those are nice and smooth. So yeah, if you're gonna be doing them, get a good wad of tape up there, guys. But yeah, we got some good rivets. I had to drill out. I had to set those about 3 times because I kept having some bent over, guys. So good practice in drilling rivets out. But now we're gonna get the control horn over top. Okay, now onto the control horn. 470-4 in here. Okay, there are all the shop ends. There you go. It went pretty well. Had to drill this guy out a couple times. Just kept folding it over. All good. Okay, so the next thing we are doing are the elevator counterbalance rib and the end rib. Okay. So if we have a look here on the plans, we have 470-4s, 4-4s in the root where it connects to the 702 spar. And both pieces do. So this guy right here and this guy right here. The 704 I'm going to do first so I can slightly flex that out of the way because the rivets are going to be coming in from this side. And the shop end will be on that side. Then I'm going to connect the 703 to the main spar. And then I'm going to connect the two of them together. So they're all using the same rivets, right? There's the rivet call out. All 703 to 702. And the 704 to 702. So same rivets there. And then all the other rivets that are going to be connecting the two together, their call out is up here. 703 to 704, 470 AD4-4. So see how I can just kind of slightly flex this panel out of the way. Slightly flexing it out of the way. And we'll go ahead and set this guy up. Perfect. That worked out well. Same thing, slightly flex it out of the way. Give them a quick check. Good. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to grab our 703. We're going to get this onto the spar as well. Okay, I've repositioned my vise a little bit just to make my ergonomics a little better. I know you're not always able to do that. Something I've learned in being a welder is ABCs of welding is always be comfortable. It makes your work a lot better. It would only make sense for me to transpose that into this. So those are all done. Now let's get the two end ribs riveted together. Okay, same size rivets. I'm going from this side in. Just a little bit of primer in these holes. Definitely having to get the reamer through them a little bit. You can see it's nothing but nothing. Just making sure that there's nothing that's going to interfere with this rivet. And bam, perfect. You can almost hear the difference when the rivet is set. There's almost a tone change that I'm noticing. And here's a close-up of them. And here's the backside. Okay, so see here, those are those scratches I had on the inside there. I just took some 400 grit sandpaper, wrapped around a file. I smoothed those all out, and now I'm just going to coat them with a little batch of AKZO I've mixed up. Okay guys, well that's probably where I'm going to end this video off. 95% of the skeleton is complete. The only thing left for the left skeleton is the trim tab spar, which sits back there, that guy right there in the plans. But I'm going to hold off on that for a couple reasons. One, I'm going to be ordering a thin nose 4-inch squeezer yoke. It does not have a hole in it for sets. It's just for setting rivets. I think that might come in handy in general. There's been a bunch of places where I've wanted to use it, and I think that would be one of them. It's one of those crazy angles as well, kind of like we were dealing with at the root, that I anticipate giving me some issues, because any rivet I'm having issues bucking is on an angle like that. Anything that I can get a bucking bar square onto the backside is no real issue for me. I'd say all in all it went very well. I'm happy with the progress of the last couple days anyways. Hopefully we can keep going. I have some priming to do. So we're gonna prime the inside of the trim tab. So the next video I'm gonna be hopefully assembling the trim tab. And I'm gonna prime it off camera just because I've done a primer video already and it's just messy, and it'll be a lot faster if I don't have to film at the same time. So I'll be getting the trim tab ready for installation, getting that spar all ready to go. Hopefully we won't have any issues riveting that back together. I hope everyone's staying safe out there and looking after yourself and your family, and I wish you guys all the best, and I hope you're taking this time, social distancing, physical distancing, and staying at home with your family to get out into the garage and get some building done. Have a great one, guys. Cheers.